All right, so you know that feeling, right, when you're trying to wrap your head around something new.
Yeah.
You want the key points,
Yeah.
you want to feel informed, but you don't want to, like, wade through a ton of extra stuff.
Exactly. You just want the good stuff.
You just want the good stuff, right? And that's what we do here. We take these deep dives, so you don't have to, and we pull out the really useful information.
The stuff that actually matters.
Yeah, the stuff that actually sticks with you. And today we're going to be looking at something I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to, whether you're the one planning it or just attending it. We're talking wedding parties.
Ooh, yes.
Specifically, we have a really interesting conversation that we're going to be diving into between three friends, Emma, Ben, and Sophia, and they are planning a wedding party for their friends Lisa and Jake.
That's right. And what's cool about this is even if you're not in wedding planning mode right now, there's still so much you can get out of this conversation with us because we're going to be pulling out advice that really applies to any kind of gathering,
Right.
whether it's a birthday party, a work event, or just a small get-together with friends.
Absolutely. It's about those underlying principles.
Exactly. And it's also fascinating to see how different people approach planning because, everyone has their own priorities and styles, and that's really going to come through in this conversation.
Well, let's get into it then.
All right. So right off the bat, they start talking about the venue, and Emma, who's kind of the initial visionary here, she throws out the idea of an outdoor garden,
Okay.
but with a covered area, just in case.
That's smart. Right away, she's thinking ahead.
Exactly. It's that blend of the beautiful and the practical, which you always want to aim for, I think.
Definitely. And I like how Ben jumps in right away, not to shoot down the garden idea, but to think about the logistics. Like, is there actually space for everyone?
Yeah, will people be bumping into each other constantly? Is there a good flow?
Right. And what about the weather? What if it
Yeah.
rains? Is that covered area big enough?
Exactly. And you know what this reminds me of? Because so often when we're planning something, we get caught up in that initial excitement, the vision, but then we forget about those crucial practical details that actually make the event successful.
Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
it's great to have that beautiful setting,
For sure.
but if people are crammed in and uncomfortable,
Or getting rained on.
nobody's going to enjoy it.
Exactly. And then Sophia jumps in and she kind of takes Emma's idea to the next level. She starts talking about the ambiance.
Okay.
Creating a really romantic evening setting in the garden with fairy lights and candles.
I mean, that sounds magical.
Doesn't it? It's so evocative.
It does, but it makes me think back to what Ben was saying. You can have all the fairy lights in the world, but if your guests are tripping over each other or can't hear each other over the music,
Yeah, or sweltering in the heat.
it kind of takes away from the magic.
For sure. So I think what we're seeing here is that first big takeaway, which is when you're choosing a venue, definitely let yourself be inspired by the beauty of it, but always ground that inspiration in practicality.
Right. Think about the flow of people.
How comfortable they'll be and the capacity of the space.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on because they quickly get into another big question, which is the timing of everything.
Yeah, when should the ceremony be? When should the party start?
The schedule.
The schedule exactly. And Emma suggests a late afternoon ceremony, maybe 4 or 5 o'clock, which would lead into a sunset party.
I mean, that sounds perfect.
It does have a certain charm to it, doesn't it?
It does. You get that beautiful golden hour light for photos. The temperature's hopefully cooling down a bit.
Yeah, not too hot, not too cold.
And it's not like an early morning thing where you have to get everyone up at the crack of dawn.
Right. And Sophia totally agrees. She points out all those benefits you just mentioned, the lighting, the temperature. It just seems really convenient for everyone involved.
And I think a lot of people would be on board with that timing.
For sure. But Ben, he brings up this really practical consideration that I think is easy to overlook when you're caught up in the aesthetics, and that is food. Oh, right.
When are people going to eat? If the ceremony is in the late afternoon, that could mean a long wait until dinner.
Yeah. Nobody wants hangry guests.
Nobody wants hangry guests.
Yeah.
So this is a really important question for you to think about. When you're planning any kind of event with a meal, how are you going to manage that gap between the main event and the food?
Absolutely. How do you keep people happy and comfortable? And I like how Emma has a solution already lined up. She says appetizers and drinks.
Such a simple solution, but so effective.
Yeah. Keep those snacks coming, keep those drinks flowing, and people are much less likely to get restless.
Exactly. It's all about managing expectations and keeping the energy up. So when it comes to timing, the key takeaway for you is it's not just about creating a nice flow. It's about considering the practical needs of your guests throughout the entire event.
Right. And part of that is making sure they're well fed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the visual feel of the event, the flowers, the decorations, all of that.
And Emma she has a very clear vision. She wants white and gold as the main colors, lots of fresh flowers and elegant candles.
That was classic.
It does, very elegant and timeless.
It's a popular choice for a reason.
Definitely. But here's where Sophia offers a really valuable piece of advice. She cautions against overcrowding the tables with flowers because you want people to be able to see each other,
Right.
to have space for their plates and drinks. You don't want these huge centerpieces that are blocking everyone's view.
I've definitely been at events where it's like, I can't even see the person across from me.
Exactly. And it can make it hard to talk to people, too, if you're constantly leaning around a giant bouquet.
Yeah, it's awkward.
So her suggestion is to go for smaller centerpieces, which still giving that elegant look,
Yeah.
but without overwhelming the space.
And Ben adds another really important consideration that often gets forgotten.
Oh, what's that?
Allergies.
Oh, yeah.
He says, think about the flowers you're choosing if they're super strong smelling.
Yeah, lilies.
You could end up with a lot of guests who are sneezing and uncomfortable.
Definitely not the vibe you're going for.
No. So again, it's that attention to detail, thinking about the guest experience, even down to the scent of the flowers.
It's the little things that make a big difference.
So when it comes to decorations, the key takeaway is to think about balance.
Yeah.
You want elegance, but you don't want to overwhelm the space or make people uncomfortable.
Exactly. Now, this next part of the conversation, I think, is what a lot of people really get excited about.
What's that?
Music and entertainment.
Oh, yes.
Emma starts off with the big question, live band or DJ?
What's your take?
Well, Sophia has this really cool suggestion, which is a bit of both.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, she says have a live band for the ceremony and dinner,
Okay.
which creates that lovely ambiance,
Yeah.
and then transition to a DJ for the dancing portion to keep the energy up.
I think that's a brilliant solution because you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, you get the live music experience, but also the versatility of a DJ.
But then Ben chimes in, and he has very strong feelings about this.
Oh, I bet I know where this is going.
He says the DJ absolutely cannot play cheesy wedding songs.
Yeah.
And he even names some of the worst offenders, the Macarena, the chicken dance.
Oh,
I mean, it's funny,
no. It is.
but it really highlights a point that I think a lot of us share,
Yeah,
which is you want the music to be fun, but you don't want it to be like cringeworthy.
definitely. And Emma is on top of it. She says she's going to create a do not playlist.
That's smart.
That's really smart. It gives her control over the music and ensures that Lisa and Jake's taste is respected.
Right.
So no unwanted surprises.
Exactly. And then she wonders about adding some other entertainment, like a photo booth or a fun game.
Ooh, fun. What are your thoughts on that?
I've seen photo booths be a huge hit at weddings.
You too.
People love them. They're interactive. They create those fun memories.
And you get instant mementos.
Yeah. And Sophia has this cute idea. She says, use the photos for a Polaroid guest book.
Ah, that's a really nice touch.
Yeah, it's personal and creative.
Yeah, but Ben cautions against having games that are too complicated.
Right.
Because his thinking is that people are there to socialize and dance, and you don't want to force them into something that feels like too much work.
It's a good point. You want to keep it light and fun.
Exactly. So when it comes to music and entertainment, it's about being deliberate with your choices, choosing things that will enhance the celebration and appeal to a wide range of guests,
Right.
while also being mindful of what you want to avoid.
Okay, so we've covered the venue, we've covered the timing, we've covered the decorations, the music.
What's next?
Well, we can't forget about capturing all those memories. The photographer.
Oh, yes. This is a big one.
It is, and Emma's looking for recommendations.
And Sophia gives her a great piece of advice. She says, look for someone with wedding experience specifically,
Okay.
because photographing a wedding is a different skill set than other types of photography.
Hmm.
You need someone who knows how to capture those candid moments, the emotion, the energy of the day.
Right, because it's not just about pose photos. It's about capturing the feeling of the event.
And Ben is all about that. He really wants natural, unposed shots.
Yeah, he wants those genuine smiles.
The laughter, the tears of joy.
The real deal.
The real deal. And honestly, when you look back at photos from an event, what do you remember most? Those post shots or those candid moments where you're truly in the moment?
The candid ones, for sure.
Exactly. They tell a story. They capture the spirit of the day.
So when it comes to choosing a photographer, the key takeaway for you is to find someone who specializes in the type of event you're planning.
And communicate your style clearly.
Right, because some people want more traditional photos. Some people want more documentary style.
And a good photographer will be able to adapt to your preferences.
Okay, we're getting towards the end here, and now I think it's time to talk about the things to avoid.
Oh, yes. The potential pitfalls.
The things that can really bring down the energy of an event.
Or just make people uncomfortable.
And Ben starts off with a big one, long speeches.
Oh, yes. We've all been there.
Sitting through a wedding speech that seems to go on forever.
And
And you're like, okay, I get it, they're happy, but I'm ready to dance.
exactly. And his advice is to keep the speeches short and sweet. Maybe just the bride, the groom, and one or two other important people.
It's about being mindful of your guest's time and attention span.
Definitely. Because
Yeah.
you don't want to lose that momentum you've built up.
And then Sophia jumps in with another great tip.
What's that?
She says, don't overcomplicate the menu.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Focus on dishes that are delicious, well cooked, and that will appeal to a wide range of tastes.
Quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get too fancy and then end up with food that people don't actually enjoy.
Or that's too adventurous for some guests.
Yeah, I've definitely had those moments where I'm like, I don't even know what this is.
It's too much.
It's too much. And then Ben ends with a point that I think is really important, but often overlooked, which is avoiding those long gaps between events.
Oh.
You know, if there's a huge delay between the ceremony and the reception or between dinner and dancing,
People get antsy.
people get antsy. They start to get bored. They lose that excitement.
You want to keep that energy flowing.
So the big takeaway here is that avoiding these common pitfalls is really about prioritizing your guests' comfort and enjoyment.
Make sure they're having a good time.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up, let's just take a moment to recap all the key themes that we've pulled out from this conversation.
Yeah. What are the big ideas you should walk away with?
Well, first of all, we saw how important it is to balance that initial vision of elegance with the practical realities of the space, the weather, and your guests' needs.
Practicality is key.
It really is. And then we talked about timing, how it's not just about aesthetics. It's about considering the guest experience from start to finish.
And that includes their stomachs.
Absolutely. Keep
Ah.
those snacks coming. And then we talked about decorations, how sometimes less is more.
Yeah, you want to create a beautiful atmosphere, but you don't want to overdo it.
And when it comes to music and entertainment, it's all about being thoughtful, choosing things that will enhance the celebration, and being mindful of what you want to avoid.
Definitely. And then, of course, finding the right photographer who can capture the spirit of the event. And steering clear of those common pitfalls, like the never-ending speeches and the awkward long waits.
Exactly. So those are the big takeaways. But what I find so fascinating about this conversation is how these principles apply to so much more than just wedding planning.
Absolutely.
You know, whether you're organizing a conference, a birthday party, a work event, even a small gathering with friends, these same ideas apply.
It's about being a thoughtful host.
It's about understanding the needs of the people you're hosting and creating an environment where they can relax, connect, and have a good time.
I love that.
So as you think about all of this, here's a final question for you to ponder. What seemingly small detail have you noticed has a huge impact on the success of an event? It could be something positive or negative, but what's that one little thing that really makes a difference?
That's a great question.
Because sometimes it's those little things that we overlook that can actually make or break the entire experience.
Food for thought.
Food for thought indeed.